This is just another inmates take over the asylum story, right? Which I guess was entertaining enough. But again, I would much rather see, and this is like where my humanist brain goes, of course, let's explore the medicine and the rights of the quote unquote criminally insane or whatever they called these people. And like, I want Star Trek to explore this question so hard.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk. It's Spock.
Your move, Captain. Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on? I'm James Kirk. These people are my friend and my shipmate. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas.
Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Nook neck. And welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And it's 1 week. We're on the count to Sulu. Count us down. The cruise is almost here.
Oh my gosh.
And you have been sending me pictures of your costumes though, and you're pretty ready for costumes.
I'm missing a couple of pieces that I don't know if I'll get in time, so I've got to make sure I have a backup. I did sort of like a fashion show try on, just to make sure I had everything. I still have to make a hat for Guinan, which I have all the fabric for.
So do you have like a giant piece of cardboard, or is it like you're going to make a big old Guinan hat?
Yes.
I love it.
And I'm trying to figure out if I want to use cardboard or that EVA foam. Because I've got to put it in my suitcase, and I don't want it to like once cardboard gets bent, it's bent.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to figure out how to do that. I might make myself a batleth. For the people listening, I think I said I was going to keep a secret from Sarah, but I just went ahead and told her. I'm doing a Klingon Barbie, but I'm having some second thoughts on like the outfit. Am I pushing it enough? Like, is it going to be apparent that this is Klingon Barbie? I feel like I just need to do something more with the top. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's exciting.
I'm excited.
I still wish I was going. Hope we meet
We
hope you meet some new fun people to come hang out in podcast land with us.
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna have the thing on my door, and maybe give away some stickers or something. And I'll definitely be handing out some cards. There's usually like a community area, so maybe I can go in and talk about our podcast there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to just honestly though, I'm tired and I need a vacation, so I'm looking forward to just being in warm weather for a moment.
Right.
And even though it is Florida, because I don't want to go back to Florida, but
yeah.
But yeah, I'm just looking forward to some time off work and some fun. You know? And be around a lot of other geeky people. Those are my people.
Have you plans to reconnect with anyone from your last cruise?
Yes.
Yes?
Karen, she's actually, I think, one of our Patreons.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've been talking on and off throughout the year, and we have plans to just, at one of the ports, we're just going to go to a resort and do nothing all day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to hang out with her. She's amazing. She's fun to hang out with. We have lots of shows in common, and she's a fan of the show.
That's amazing.
And a friend of the show.
Yeah, I love it. That's Star Trek bringing people together, making friendships.
Yeah.
I love it.
Unfortunately, we've had a few people, I guess because Strange New Worlds started filming, so we've lost a few of the guests. But they've been replaced. So we never know, like right up until the day of the cruise, like there's people changing. I'm hoping that LeVar Burton is still coming, as far as I know. I really want to see him. I
saw a picture of him just apropos of nothing on the internet the other day, like in day one, episode 1 filming of Reading Rainbow. And he's a baby. He's just this
baby
sweet
face.
little baby. Oh, yeah. I was like, holy crap.
Man,
he was so young.
When I see him, I'm going to have to keep myself from bursting out into butterfly in the sky.
He would probably sing it right along with you, though.
Oh, man.
The whole fucking crowd would probably sing it right along with you. That'd be amazing.
I loved that show so much growing up. And this was like before Star Trek. That was him that was it for me as far as he's concerned.
Same. I wasn't old enough to have seen him in Roots, right? That wasn't a thing that I watched until much later in my life. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid when it came out, but I didn't. And I saw it.
Right.
Actually, I think it came out right when I was a baby, and then I saw it later. I don't know that I got it because I was a baby.
Right.
Until much later.
Yeah. What would they do on the cruise if somebody went snap, lost their damn mind, went crazy? Is there a planetarium on the cruise ship that we could take people to?
I think there is like a sort of brig on the ship that they don't talk about.
Oh, yeah.
But I think like all cruise ships have a place where they can hold someone if they have to. But they don't talk about it.
Wow. Well, let's return to the planetarium this week in Star Trek, the original series, season 3, episode 14, Whom Gods Destroy.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Sulu, yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
This episode starts off with a captain's log that took me right back to the planetarium episode. So we're on this planet, Elba 2, which is like the highest maximum security planetarium in the Federation. Like high concrete block walls, razor wire. By the way, the planet also has a poisonous atmosphere. So if you try to make a break for it, you just choke to death. This is like Republican Jesus's most favoritist internment camp, basically.
Exactly. They're saying, hey, we're not going to kill you. We're going to keep you alive. We're going to put you on this planet. But if you try to escape, you'll die.
Yeah.
How is that? I'm just like, what? How is that kind, though?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Well, I went right back to that planetarium episode because this mission is about bringing a new medicine that could eliminate mental illness forever, period. And already I'm up in my head about whether or not people should have the right to refuse this medication. If they're not sound of mind, then do they have the ability to consent or choose? And what right do we have to force a thing like this on them? Right. I'm not even out of the captain's log yet, and my head is already swimming in this.
And then what is sound of mind? Who who gets to just determine what that is?
And do we ever answer any of those questions?
No.
So Kirk and Spock have beamed down to meet with the colony's governor, Dr. Donald Corey, and the establishing shots in this I thought were just great. So first, the Enterprise is in orbit of this planet, which is of course green because of the toxic atmosphere or whatever. And of course, this is the remastered image.
Yeah.
And then we get a shot of the foam rock playset, just full of dry ice and green lights. And the camera pulls back through a window, which puts us into the control room of this colony. Great setup. I loved it. That was fantastic. Donald Corey might look familiar.
Yes, he does.
It's Key Luke, famously the old mysterious Chinatown shopkeeper in Gremlins.
Oh.
He was the old man in the shop in Gremlins with the Mogwai.
I guess he was. Yeah, he was. He was old that time.
Or however the Gremlin sings. Yeah, same dude. I was like, oh man, I'm shook. Legendary actor. This guy was in a ton of shit.
He looks familiar. He's got one of those faces.
He did a lot of voice acting work too in animation over the years. And to further put us into the planetarium frame of mind, you might also recognize the jumpsuit Corey is wearing. So this blue jumpsuit with the hand and with the bird and the sun.
Dagger of the mind.
So this must just be like the criminally insane rehab program logo, right? They all have the same.
The same logo.
Same department.
Regardless of where they are.
Yeah.
It's a chain. Hey, it's a chain.
Do we need to put a warning at this episode that they talk about like mental health as criminally insane, and like the language that we use around mental health now has evolved from the way they talked about it in this episode, and we're going to use the language that they used in this episode, but know that we have evolved as a people. There you go. Yeah. That's the announcement. So in addition to all of those other security measures, there's also a force field. So now Kirk and Spock are effectively trapped here, but Dr. Corey is like super excited to have guests. Like nobody ever comes to visit. I can't wait to cook for you guys. And
poor guy, he's like starved for some human contact. And so they're trapped. There's a force field that they turn on and off. When it's on, nobody can transport down, nobody can leave.
Apparently this is like a regular routine visit. Like this is on their route. They just stop by every couple of years or so.
And deliver medication or something?
Yeah, because they talk about how like the last time we were here, you had 14 inmates, and now there's 15 or however many. So there's one new inmate. And who is this new inmate? Garth of Izar, a former starship captain. And Kirk's like, whoa, no way. He was like one of my heroes. Can I meet him? Does he do signings? Can we maybe like a quick photo op? You think I could get him to sing the Reading Rainbow song with me?
Selfie? No, she did not. Butterfly in the sky.
Oh my God.
So Corey says, sure, yeah, I'll take you to see him. And as they're walking, you notice he's got this clicker, and he's basically deactivating and reactivating force fields as they pass through. There's an Orion woman. Her name is Marta. She's sort of flirting with them as they're walking by their holding cells. And of course, the door looks open, but it's actually a force field. And I guess this is the one where they got what is it? The xenopolychlamydia? Maybe that's what's affecting her brain.
Oh, God.
Attention. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with xenopolychlamydia, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xenopolychlamydia is a rare sexually transmitted disease linked to exposure in the Orion system. Traveling to the Orion system may put you at risk. Please don't wait. Call 1-920-550-TREK. A free legal consultation and financial information packet. Xenopolychlamydia patients, call now. Again, that number is 920-550-TREK.
She pleads with Kirk. Like, I'm not insane. You gotta believe me. I sound completely sane, right? Which is what sane people say. And depending on whether you believe her or not, this moment could plant a seed of distrust. She doesn't want to talk in front of Governor Corey because she doesn't believe it's really him. So do we believe her?
Corey says, she's been saying that for days now. Our medical staff can't figure out why.
This crazy bitch, am I right? Marta is played by Yvonne Craig, who many will recognize as Batgirl. She was in a bunch of stuff too, but I personally noted 6 guest appearances in The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, which I used to watch on Nick at Night back in the day before TV Land was even a thing. I loved that show because it was like Green Acres and Petticoat Junction and The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis and like,
oh man,
I loved all that shit.
So they also pass an Endorian in a cell next to Marta and a Tellarite, which is, remember Pig Boy from Journey to Babel? I kept calling him Pig Boy, but he's a Tellarite.
Don't their races hate each other?
I think so. Was it the Andorians that they hate? Yeah, they hate each other. I thought
so too.
Because there was a whole mystery of who done it on the ship. Somebody hung the Pig Boy upside down.
Right.
I think it was the Pig Boy that died. I can't remember.
During this whole walk, Governor Corey has this almost devilish grin on his face because as they come to the final cell and he introduces Garth, it's actually not Garth in the cell, but the real Dr. Governor Corey.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please?
Will the real Dr. Governor Corey please stand up?
Please stand up. Corey is in Garth's cell, but there's 2 Coreys.
This transition I thought was fun too. The transition with they do this push blur thing where they switch from one to the next to hide that it's just a cut, you know? But I thought that was good. And suddenly now the fake Governor Corey turns back into Garth. Garth is played by Steve Inott, who was also in a ton of 60s and 70s television.
Yeah.
Garth clicks the garage door opener and lets all the other inmates out as he pulls a heater and laughs maniacally to theme.
Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. Maniacal
After the theme, an unconscious Spock is being dragged away by the Andorian and the Tellarite, and Kirk is placed into the cell with the real Dr. Governor Corey.
Garth assures Kirk that, don't worry, Spock's fine. We just stunned him. We didn't kill him.
Corey is being like held in midair, unable to move inside this cell.
I was trying to figure out how they could have done that in the late 60s, because I don't know how they could have done it.
Here's my guess. I have a guess. I have a hypothesis.
Okay.
So, because of the way it was shot, you didn't really see his back ever. So I think under the uniform, under the jumpsuit, he had on a harness that was attached to a metal rod from behind, and that was just holding him steady in the air.
Okay.
That's my thought. I'm not a production stunt whatever person. But.
You're a podcaster, not a
yeah.
I was trying to because normally the harness you can see the pull.
Right.
Like even underneath their clothes you can see the pull of it.
Right.
But anyway, I was like, hey, cool.
Garth goes on an evil monologue.
Evil Incorporated!
Talking about galactic domination and all the people who oppose him must be confined or destroyed. I am Lord Garth, formerly of Hazar, and I lead the future masters of the universe. He-Man.
Oh my God, I wrote Q He-Man intro.
Yes.
I went and I actually looked up because I was like, I couldn't remember the intro, and I had to look it up, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so old.
I know.
It was like he had the blonde bowl cut.
Yes.
And he's like,
yes.
I am Adam. I'm like, tag me.
I have the power.
Oh, man. But yeah, because Garth, you'll see he goes on a bunch of evil monologues. He's actually very funny. And he keeps referring to Masters of the Universe.
Yes.
So the whole time I was thinking He-Man.
Me too. Kirk throws a little psychology at Garth. Are you so afraid of Corey that you have to keep him pinned up like this? And of course, Garth fears no one, so he releases Corey. But we also learn that he destroyed the medicine that might have cured mental illness for all time. Back to the evil plan. Step 1, take command of the Enterprise and then hunt down my former crew and punish them all for mutinying. And to keep the crew of the Enterprise from also mutinying, Shazam! Garth turns into Kirk, and he and Marta leave.
Kirk is checking on Corey and asking him if he's okay. But Corey's like, if you don't stop him from getting in command of the Enterprise, there's no hope for any of us. And he's apparently created this really powerful explosive. He hasn't seen it, but he believes him. Kirk is wondering, how does he transform into just other people at a whim? And then Corey explains it, but I'm still not sure I get it. But apparently he was on Antos, and the people of Antos taught him this cellular metamorphosis to heal himself.
Yeah.
But in doing that, he took it further, and he learned how to use this technique to recreate himself in any form. That was weak sauce to me.
Yep.
I don't know.
And the whole like how his journey to evil maniac story wasn't very clear or strong in this episode either, because what I worked out later, apparently there was some accident or something, and that sent him to this Antos colony to be healed. And while he was there, he learned to do this healing thing, and then he was like, now I'm evil and I'm going to use this for evil.
I think, was it the accident that made him lose his mind?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't really clear.
Yeah. This next scene is another one of those that I remembered, but wasn't sure what episode it was from. So, Kurth? Gark?
Kurth?
Kurth? What are we calling him?
Kurth and Gark is
Gark?
good.
Yeah. Whatever. He goes into the control room, and he has his Andorian and Tellarite accomplices hide. So Gark calls up the Enterprise to beam up, and Scotty's like, "Aye, sir. Queen to Queen's level 3. And Gark's like, "The fuck are you talking about? I said, beam me up." And this goes back and forth a couple of times, right? Scotty's like, "I'm following your orders." And Gark's like, "Oh, okay. I was just testing you. I'll call back later."
Oops.
But that was enough to get Scotty and McCoy on the scent.
Yeah, and I know that they had to come up with something to tip Scotty off and to say, hey, something's wrong.
Right.
So they made up that whole code. What's the password?
Yeah.
Because they've never done that.
Right. And I
before.
don't think they do it again. It is a for this episode technique.
Right. Yeah. So Scott and McCoy, they immediately figure out there's something wrong because Kirk didn't respond with the countersign that they talked about. Scotty considers beaming down a whole security team, but then Sulu tells him that the force field is up. And of course, when that's up, you can't transport down. So all forms of transport are blocked.
Gark goes on a complete mental break and starts like raving around the room. And finally he's on the ground, like slamming his fists like a petulant child.
Like a child. Yeah. Does he and Elan know each other?
Right? I don't know if you noticed this, but as he changes back to Garth, there's this little black plasticky piece of something that goes spinning onto the floor.
Yes. Yep. I read about what that is.
What is it? I didn't read about that.
So there's this necklace. He's got this chain thing, and it's got like 3 things on it. One of them flies off. One of them flies off when he has a tantrum, and then you'll later see they put it back on in much later scene. But the other following scenes have the 2 of them on his chain.
Back on the Enterprise, Scotty's definitely suspicious. He gave the sign. Why didn't Kirk give the countersign? They try to call Kirk back again, but there's no answer.
Thank you for calling Captain James D. Kirk, Captain of the Starship Enterprise.
There you go.
The act out is Garth back in the control room, evil monologuing about how he's going to take over the Enterprise, even if he has to shatter every bone in Kirk's body. Garth comes back to the cell to collect Kirk, presumably to manipulate him into giving the answer to Scotty's chess riddle. So Kirk and Spock are to be guests for dinner. That's still happening. That was still part of the plan. But when Garth says that Corey isn't invited because he's essentially withholding food from him, Kirk's like, yeah, no thanks. We'll stay here. But Garth pulls a heater. Do you remember having to do this wheelbarrow thing as a kid? I remember this from like elementary school PE class where you'd grab somebody else's ankles and wheelbarrow them around.
Yeah, we did it on that field day thing.
Yeah.
We had to do the 3-legged race, the egg and the spoon fucking thing in the wheelbarrow and all that. Yeah.
So the Andorian and the Tellarite are doing this wheelbarrow thing around the room, and Marta's flirting with Kirk, which is making Garth jealous.
When they bring Spock in, Marta's like, can I just blow off one of his ears? Oh, come on. They want to, like, she just wants to mess with Spock. It's like a circus in there. I don't know what's going on.
Well, the whole scene this goes back and forth. The whole scene ends with Marta claiming that she writes poetry and dances, and Garth calls her on it. It's like, read one of your poems then. You write poetry, okay. During this, Kirk and Spock are like mumbling at each other about creating a diversion so that Spock can get to the control room and drop the force field. I like this much better when they have this conversation with a look rather than mumbling, okay, we're going to get these guys so we can get over there and do this
All
thing.
we need is a few minutes.
Yeah, you don't need to say it. Especially lately, they've done so well with that. Kirk and Spock just kind of,
knowing
in each other's heads and knowing what the next step is. Yeah.
Right.
And the Andorian and the Tellarite are standing right behind Kirk and Spock. There's no way they didn't hear them mumbling at each other.
Yeah, they could have done that with a look better.
Yep.
But Garth sees them whispering and he's like, hush, courtesy for the performer because Marta's about to spit some mad butter.
So she starts reciting Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 because this show fucking loves Shakespeare.
It does. It does.
It really
Shall I
does.
compare thee to a summer's day? And Garth's like, you wrote that? She's like, yes, I did. As a matter of fact, he says it was written by Earth's Shakespeare a long time ago. She's like, it doesn't change the fact that I wrote it again yesterday. I love their banter back and forth, even though they're both maniacs.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Garth demands that she dance for the guests, and Marta starts doing that dance that we saw Vina do as an Orion slave girl on the cage, right? This is the same dance. He asks Kirk and Spock what they think of this, and Spock says it's interesting and nostalgic, which I thought was going to be about Vina in the cage, but it turned out to be a sick Vulcan burn. He's like, well, it reminds me of the dancing that preschool kids do on Vulcan, although the kids don't have quite as much coordination.
I know. There's nothing worse than being burned by a Vulcan.
Yeah. Did you also notice the other inmates in the room? I think they went down to wardrobe and just pulled out all of the silly hats that we've seen so far on this show. There's like, you remember the gimp suit guy? And he had was he
in there? I didn't notice.
I think they just raided the costume department.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I will say they did reuse a bunch of stuff. Like the whole costume that Garth is wearing was reused. Like this, I think this is like the third time we've seen it.
Oh, no shit.
Because one, it was in Journey to Babel. It was just some background alien was wearing it, and then it was in another one where I can't remember. There was an actual main character that was wearing it.
There's like a Roman looking dude in this scene too, so I'm sure we've seen that before probably. Yeah,
you're right. They raided wardrobe.
So Marta finishes her dance, applause, 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 and Garth's like, you can fuck her if you want. Wow. And Kirk's like,
yeah, I mean, he does say that.
So. I don't think so.
It's like, that's real nice of you. Yeah.
Whew. Garth expresses how much he wants Kirk and Spock to be friends, not enemies. And Spock's like, and on what basis would we build this friendship? Enlightened self-interest, of course. You want to live, after all.
And of course, Garth wants to be the finest commander in the galaxy, but Kirk reminds him, like, hey, I'm just exploring now. I don't, we don't conquer worlds or anything like that. And Garth's like, yeah, I explored too. And I've charted more new worlds than any man in history. But Kirk reminds him that he tried to destroy Antos 4.
Yeah, so then we go back to this story about his journey to evilldom.
Mm-hmm.
We learn about like how his crew mutinied and the people of Antos 4 gave him this cell regeneration thing, and then he went insane with power, wanted to rule over all the things, and the Antosians just rejected him. So he condemned them to death. But what he hadn't counted on was his crew and their loyalty to peace and Star Trek values or whatever. So he found a new crew here at the planetarium, people who would execute his commands without question. And that launches us into a discussion about war and being a wartime leader versus like peace, right? Garth was like the number one war hero of his time, and Kirk talks about studying his victory at Axanar in the academy. But then as a cadet, Kirk visited Axanar on a peace mission. And this really sets Garth off. He's like, fuck peace. He is not interested in that shit because peace equals weakness. And he's all about strength now.
But Kirk says, they were humanitarians and they had a dream. And that dream is something that made him and Spock brothers, he says. Garth says, Mr. Spock, do you consider yourselves brothers? As Kirk says. And Spock really doesn't. He's never going to say yes or no. He goes around the answer. He's like, Kirk speaks somewhat figuratively and with undue emotion. However, what he says is sort of true. I agree with it.
That's a Vulcan yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Garth only sees the chain of command, though. He's a military authoritarian, and he offers Spock a ship of his own to command in his fleet. And again, Spock with the Vulcan burn is like, what fleet? Where's your fleet, bro?
And Garth says out there somewhere waiting for him. I'm assuming that he means like he hasn't gotten one yet, but he's going to take over all the starships.
And all of these ships will, flock to my cause because I'll be offering them, power to rule over others and elite status, power to rule over everyone.
Spock just keeps on countering him and challenging everything he says to finally Garth is like, remove this animal. And they just take Spock away.
Kirk tries to jump up to defend his bro, but Garth pulls his heater again and insists that Kirk stay. The entertainment has only just begun after all. Speaking of entertainment, Garth asks, I don't suppose you play chess by any chance? Apropos of nothing, of course. Do you, Kirk? And how might you counter, say, I don't know, queen to queen's level 3?
He's so obvious. Kirk's like, there could be hundreds of infinite number of moves. Couldn't tell you.
Well, I'm only interested in the one, the one that Scotty keeps asking me. So Kirk refuses, of course, and Marta tries to seduce him. Tell him what he wants to know, and then you and I can just elope. We'll run off together and never see any of these fuckers ever again. And Kirk's like, nope. So Garth has this chair wheeled in, and this is another reused prop from Dagger of the Mind, the planetarium episode, and Kirk recognizes this chair too. But this isn't the painless mental health healing factory model. No, Garth has juiced it up so that it's definitely painful, and to demonstrate this, he has Dr. Governor Corey put into the chair and lights him up.
And he's groaning in pain, and Garth is just like, hey, this is really cool, right? And Kirk says, okay, turn it off, stop hurting him. And he does, but then he ends up putting Kirk in the chair to take Corey's place.
Kirk even tries to kick off a Star Trek fight, but fails, and they shove him in the chair, and he gets lit up too. And throughout all of this, Garth keeps asking, queen to queen's level 3. And it's painful Kirk face to commercial. We jump right back to Kirk in the chair, and Marta begs Garth to stop torturing Kirk because apparently she likes him. She's got a thing, she got a thing for him. Because of course she does, right? It's Kirk.
Yeah.
But she suggests that maybe she can catch more flies with her honeypot than his torture chair. Did that work? Is that
yeah.
So he turns off the chair and Kirk collapses. Back on the Enterprise, Uhura keeps calling Kirk over and over again. Do you remember back in the day when you'd call somebody and if they were on the phone, you got a busy signal, right? And then you just hang back up and then dial again and just hang back up and dial again and hang back up and dial again, hoping that they're going to get off the phone.
And that was before call waiting because the person on the phone would get a beep and they would, but now before they didn't get a beep at all. They wouldn't know that someone's calling. Yeah.
That's what Uhura's doing now. Just calling Kirk over and over again.
Yeah. Nobody's answering. Well, Kirk's in a chair right now, tied up. So Sulu notices that the force field is really weak on this one side of the planet. And they're like, hey, we could send a shuttlecraft down, but that's like thousands of miles away from the actual planetarium. And so even if they landed there with the shuttle, they'd still have to get to the planetarium. So they're just kind of trying to come up with some ideas on how to get down there because they don't know what's going on.
There's even a passing thought of we don't really even know for sure that Kirk and Spock are even alive down there.
Yeah. And Scotty says that too. Whoa. What? He may already be dead? What?
On the planet, it's time for the tables to start turning as Marta is nursing Kirk back to health and tells him she told Garth she would get the answer to the chess riddle, but that was just a lie because all she really wants to do is ride that wild stallion, if you know what I mean.
I'm just wondering, she was rubbing all over him, and I kept expecting him to come up with some green shit all over him.
Yes.
And no, he did not have green stuff on him at all.
I tried to look and figure out how much of that was a bodysuit versus skin painted, and it was hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was paint.
Yeah. Kirk says he believes her. She's being genuine here, and they start making out, and she confesses her love to him, and he offers to help her, but we've got to get to the Enterprise. There's more medicine on the Enterprise that can help you, Marta, but we've got to get to the control room and take down the force field.
But Garth is her leader. She's like, So she doesn't quite want to betray him, but Kirk is like, he's going to lead you to destruction. And remember this, because he did warn her. He's already gotten rid of the medication that was going to help all you guys, and he is bad news.
She says she'll help him, but not just yet. Spock is on the way, let free by a guard who was all too easily swayed by her Shakira hips. But this is all part of the derangement, right? They make out some more, and she reaches for a dagger under the pillow, trying to kick off a Star Trek fight again, but Spock arrives just in time. Marta's like, no, you can't stop me. He's my lover, and I have to kill him. So this is all part of her mental health crisis.
Yeah, but then Spock neck pinches her, and then they head to the control room to escape.
Kirk and Spock slink down the hallway, although Kirk's still a little weak from the torture and stumbles a bit. They find the Tellarite around the corner, and Spock zaps him with the heater. They snatch the Tellarite's heater and garage door opener and bust into the empty control room.
I had no idea what was happening. No. Had no idea.
If this all seemed a little too easy, it is, because they call up Scotty, security detail, and so on and so forth. And Spock will remain on the planet to oversee the security team, but Kirk should definitely be beamed up now. Except when Scotty gives the Queen to Queen's level 3 sign again, Kirk doesn't give the reply. Instead, he says, no, Scotty, Mr. Spock will give the countersign. And if you thought Kirk was Garth again, you'd have been wrong like me.
So I didn't think that Kirk was Garth, but I never expected Spock to be Garth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Spock flips a couple switches on the wall, and Shazam, he turns back into Garth. And Kirk tries. Now, okay, so here's the thing. Last scene, Spock finger banged, what's her name?
Marta. Yeah. That's why I was like, that's typical, because that's what Spock does.
But it wasn't Spock, it was Garth. So Garth can do finger bangs?
We had a question like many, many episodes ago. Can humans do the Vulcan neck pinch? Remember?
Yeah.
And because we always wondered, why didn't Kirk do it?
Right.
Because,
there was a whole conversation about, like, I've tried to teach you.
Yeah. He tried to teach him. And so, yeah. So that's one of the reasons I did not suspect that Spock was Garth, or Garth was Spock. Whatever. Sparse.
Kirk tries the old, like, hey, buddy, remember who you used to be before the accident? Like, before the cheese slid all the way off your cracker. You were a great man. Now you're just this punk ass bitch. But Garth sees himself as among a list of greats, a list that he names as Alexander, Caesar, Napoleon, Hitler, Lee Kuan, and Crotus, all of whom were failures, but not Garth. He's going to succeed at being an evil dictator. Kirk tries to make for the force field controls, but Garth stuns him with his heater.
This next scene is more chaos. We're back in the dining room, and they're rearranging the tables because Garth wants to have a coronation. Now, I don't know. They always do this for anyone who's mentally unstable. They always have this like evil plan, and it's all a bunch of theatrics. But he basically wants to have a coronation, and they're arranging the tables and the chairs so that the chair is on top of the table. They've spread out some kind of red carpet, only it's yellow. And they've got all this hoopla. And obviously he wants Kirk to witness his coronation.
Kirk's not very excited about this ceremony. And Garth suggests, well, maybe you'd like a more prominent role. Human sacrifice, maybe? No? Okay, how about crown prince and heir to the throne then? What? This is all the madness. Right.
Madness. Absolute madness.
So Garth walks out and everyone gets in position in like 2 lines facing this gold fabric runway thing. And Garth comes back in with Marta on his arm now. And she's carrying a pillow with a very middle school production of Hamlet cardboard and aluminum foil looking crown upon it.
It was ridiculous. It's madness.
As they walked down the golden runner to the throne, the other inmates kneel and they force Kirk to kneel too. and there's like regal trumpet sounds playing from somewhere. Yeah. Garth proclaims himself Lord and Master of the Universe. He-Man. Marta as their consort, and Captain James Kirk, their heir apparent. And Garth struts down the runway and up onto the throne to the applause of the inmates, and his first order is to have Kirk removed from the throne room. So the Andorian and the Tellarite escort him to the control room for some reason, and throughout this, Kirk tries to convince these goons to his side. But he's also like twisting some knobs on the wall and flipping a couple switches, and they put the bricks on him. So Garth comes in and orders Kirk into a chair to watch the next entertainment he's lined up.
The next entertainment, so Garth tells the guys to put him in that chair, and the shutters open so that they can see outside, and they've got two guys holding Marta outside, and there's poisonous gas. So these two guys have environmental suits so they can breathe.
And those are recognizable reused environmental suits from the last episode we had them in. Yeah.
Oh, do they have their name on the...
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question.
I didn't even look.
I think they were too far away to be able to read it.
He wants to show Kirk his latest invention, and it's this explosive that Corey had mentioned. He's apparently created this most powerful bomb, and poor Marta's out there choking to death in the green gas, but he's going to use her as a demonstration.
So he's got this flask in his cloak that has like all of these crystals in it that are the explosive, and he's like tossing it around like a juggler at a circus.
Look. I know. A true madman.
Yeah. He's like, if I were to miss and drop this, it would vaporize the whole damn planet. That's how powerful this stuff is. Kirk is forced to watch as Marta is dragged out into this toxic atmosphere. But not to choke to death. Garth's put a grain of sand-sized bit of this explosive stuff in her necklace and intends to blow her up remotely.
I mean, that is so fucking cruel. Okay, because she's already gonna choke to death. But no, you're gonna blow her up too.
It seemed to me like he was trying to make the argument that this was the more humane ending to her, because he could just leave her out there to choke to death, but no, I'm just gonna blow her up and end the agony, which is very like Madman stuff, because he's the one that put her out there to choke in the first place, right? The goons leave her alone outside choking, and Garth flips a switch on the board and explodes her.
Oh my God! They've killed
our beloved Marta!
You bastards!
This explosion registers on the Enterprise sensors, and Scotty and McCoy quickly decide they have to act now, even if it puts the people on the planet at further risk. And the thing they're going to try is to blast through the force field at its weakest point on the far side of the planet.
McCoy just wants to make sure that there's going to be a margin of safety for anybody down below. And Sulu's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Sure. Whatever.
And then what they do is they try to punch a hole in it by concentrating their phaser fire to this weak point. And this footage also was reused from, I think it was Adana, Who Mourns for Adana.
Oh, yeah. Shooting at the planet. Yeah.
Yeah. They continue shooting at it. Nothing's happening yet, though. But then we switch back to the control room on the planet, and Garth is, again, kind of fucking around with the flask that's supposedly so explosive, and he tosses it to, like, the Andorians, and they're just like, oh, juggling it.
Very comedic moment.
Yeah.
He remarks about Kirk's stubbornness defying all logic, and then snap. Logic. Of course, logic. Get that Vulcan in here. So Spock is in a cell, testing and observing the force field when the Andorian and Tellarite come in for him. Spock, this is brilliant Spock. Spock plays unconscious, and as the men drag him out of the cell, he slips him the old 1-2 finger bang.
Double finger bang. I've never seen him do a double Vulcan neck pinch before.
I think it may be the only one.
Hey, why can't we get that as a question?
Right? But there must be like proximity alarms in the hallways or something, because there's some beeps and boops in the control room, and an image of Spock slinking around the hallways comes on the screen.
Garth is like, yeah, I figured. Here he comes. And Garth says something that Spock would normally say. He says, fascinating.
Yeah.
Because your Vulcan friend is very ingenious, and he escaped, so he sees them coming. So he comes up with a weird plan, and this next scene is amazing.
I love it so much. And so Spock enters the control room to find not one, but two Captain Kirks.
I actually lost track of which
Who
one
was who?
which.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spock in this scene is amazing. He's like, look, whichever one of you is actually Garth, you can't possibly keep up Kirk's image forever. And we've got the time. So I'm just going to pull up a chair here and sit down and wait.
And he literally does pull up a chair.
Yeah.
But that sets one of the Kirks off, and he goes in a kind of sort of attacks Spock and knocks him down.
We finally get a Star Trek fight.
Star Trek fight!
Yeah.
And it's Kirk
Kirk
on Kirk.
We got to have some Kirk on Kirk action.
This is just good fun sci-fi, right? It's Shatner versus stand-in body double, and they go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm the captain. No, Spock, I'm the captain. No, Spock, he's Garth. No, he's Garth.
Shoot him, blah, blah, blah. No, shoot him.
Until finally, one Kirk has a chair raised over his head, about to smash the other Kirk on the ground. Spock's got his heater out, trying to figure out who to shoot, when the Kirk on the floor shouts, "Fucking shoot us both. It's the only way to ensure the safety of the Enterprise." When that, of course, is trademark Kirk. So Spock knows now who's who.
Who loves the Enterprise more than anything in the world?
Right.
And that is the real Kirk.
So Spock shoots the other one, who drops to the ground and turns back to Garth. Spock lowers the force field, calls up the Enterprise, and answers Scotty's challenge, Queen to King's level 1. Back in the treatment room, there's this medical dude in the background who hands the hypo spray to McCoy. And I thought this guy looked a lot like if Dr. Bashir was in the 1960s. I don't know if you noticed this guy or not, but he looked...
I don't think I noticed him.
He looked very Julian Bashir to me. It was weird. Yeah. Anyway, the Andorian is getting his jab, whether by consent or not. We don't talk about that.
No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't consent.
No.
So they're basically in prison, but it should take effect almost immediately. And then Garth comes to and pretty much doesn't remember anything.
Yeah, he's in the planetarium chair. And if you remember in that episode, that the whole point of that chair was like to brainwash people and like remove their memory and make them docile and chill.
Yeah. And along with the chair, the medication seems to be doing its thing. He introduces himself to Kirk, and
they like shake hands.
Should I know you?
Yeah.
Do I know you?
Anyway, the medical treatments seem to be working, and Kirk and Spock have chair chat on location. Kirk's like, "What the hell, Spock? Why was it so impossible to figure out which Kirk was the real Kirk?" But Spock's like, "Captain, your being here is evidence that I did figure out which Kirk was the real Kirk." And Kirk's like, "Yeah, but it took you 5 ever to fucking figure it out. The hell?" But Spock's like, "It really wasn't that long. Like, it may have felt long to you, but it really wasn't that long." And Spock's process was to just wait to see who won the Star Trek fight, assuming that it would be Garth, because Kirk's face is like, "Excuse the fuck out of me. You thought Garth was going to win?" And Spock quickly adds, "Oh, since you had been weakened by the planetarium chair and whatnot,
Right, of course. And Kirk is like, "Well, so I see. You let yourself be hit on the head. That's not exactly a method King Solomon would have approved of."
Beam us up, Scotty.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'm happy the affair is over.
Me too.
A most annoying, emotional episode.
Yeah, but I learned something today.
When dreams become more important than reality, you give up travel, building, creating.
One jealous god, if all this makes a god.
By sparing your helpless enemy, who surely would have destroyed you, you demonstrated the advanced trait of mercy.
Frankly, I was rather dismayed by your use of the term half-breed. You must admit, it is an unsophisticated expression.
So, whom gods destroy comes from whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad, which doesn't seem to have a super clear attribution that I could find. It's been attributed to several people, but mostly from like Greek origins, right?
Yeah.
So here again, a lot like in Dagger of the Mind, which this episode so closely mirrors that I read Nimoy wrote like a strongly worded memo to the producers condemning, like bitching about how like similar this episode is to Dagger of the Mind. So when I rag on an episode for being the 100th time we go to a paradise planet, I'm in good company. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Y'all can get off our backs.
I think most people probably agree. I don't know.
Yeah. This is just another inmates take over the asylum story, right? Which I guess was entertaining enough. But again, I would much rather see, and this is like where my humanist brain goes, of course, let's explore the medicine and the rights of the quote unquote criminally insane or whatever they called these people. And like, I want Star Trek to explore this question so hard. What is rehabilitation and what do the methods of rehabilitation? When does the end justify the means, if at all? And yeah, like what rights should the individual have in this quasi-justice system that they're playing with?
I mean, do they ever have any hope of ever leaving that facility that's on a planet surrounded by poisonous gas? I mean,
right.
It's prison, and is it rehabilitation or is it just keeping them alive so that you don't feel bad about killing them? I mean,
right.
What is it about?
Right.
Like,
yeah. What would a Federation restorative justice system look like even?
Therapy, getting them to talk about it. Like, I don't know. And then, and expressing remorse. But like, we know that there are some mental illnesses where people may not be able to express remorse.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. It's a tricky one. I mean, I don't know.
This isn't my favorite episode.
No. I mean, so I will say that the banter between all of the Garth was an excellent madman. He was like an early Bond villain in a way. He had a humor, and Marta was also certifiable. I mean, it was funny too.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it was a good episode. But as far as the more questions it raised for me on how we treat mentally unstable people or people who need mental assistance, it had more questions for me than answers.
Does the episode try to make the argument that, because at the end of the episode, right, we've put Garth in the chair and wiped his brain, essentially. Is the episode making the argument that that's a good thing?
It sounds like that is the best. Yeah.
That's the best we can do. That is a just way to handle
it's good
the situation.
For everybody.
Right.
Yeah. It's good for everybody.
I don't know how I feel about these.
Because if you don't know what you did, you could repeat it. Number one. Number two, there's no remorse for it. Right. And you're not actually curing, or are you curing it? Or you're just wiping their memory.
If you have your brain wiped like that, are you even the same person as you are before the brain wiping?
Exactly. Because everything that you are is your memories and all of your experiences. And if you forget all of that, then who are you?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think they crack into this nut again in this series. I don't know if they do in the animated series. That'd be interesting to see. But I do know that there are some morality plays in Next Generation about this type of mental health stuff. So I'm excited to keep moving on through the series and see like how differently we approach the topic as the years go on.
I think it'll be interesting when we do go through TNG. We can look back at probably every example of how it was handled in TOS versus how TNG handled it. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Did anybody die in this episode?
Yeah, Marta.
Oh, Marta, that's right. I'd forgotten about her.
I know. Poor Marta. Everybody fucking forgot about her. She just blew her up. I felt bad for her.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like she was shown as a mentally unwell person, right? She definitely had like the insane going on. But then just to be like thrown out into choke and die and then be blown up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not great. No.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about it. But here we go. Marta, poor Marta.
She's dead, Jim.
We are assembled here today Pay final respects to our honored dead.
Marta, the beautiful Orion woman, batshit and unstable. She was Garth's number one, willing and able. Garth forced her outside to choke to death. I was hoping it was just a ruse, but to demonstrate his power, he blew her up too.
Poor Marta.
I was really hoping, because they did all these ruses of, oh, it's really Garth and not Spock, or it's really Garth and not Kirk. I thought he was just messing around and that she was really going to be alive, but it was really cruel.
Right.
Sorry, Marta.
Rest in peace.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
As always, we want to thank everyone who supports the show, especially our patrons, and especially our founding admirals at patreon.com/humanisttrek. A special thanks to Russell, Ali, Peter, Sarah, and Sherry.
Greetings, savvy profit seekers of the Alpha Quadrant. Your ears have stumbled upon the lucrative opportunity of a lifetime, Humanist Trek. Now, don't just stand there like a packwid waiting for enlightenment. Let's talk business. First, unleash your linguistic prowess and leave us a review. It's like planting the seeds of profit in the fertile soils of the podcasting market. Smart, right? Now, for those truly desiring a spot in the Ferengi Hall of Commerce, consider becoming a patron. It's not charity. It's an investment in the future of comedic prosperity. Early access, exclusive profit-branded merch, and bonus content so valuable, you'll feel like you discovered a cache of hidden gold-pressed latinum. Don't be a rule of acquisition violator. Head to patreon.com/humanisttrek and pledge as low as $3 a month. The return on your investment? Priceless laughter! And the satisfaction of knowing you're supporting the galaxy's next big profit venture. Profit is our mission, and with your help, we'll be laughing all the way to Grand Nagus' bank.
Let me remind you that taking business advice from a female is a violation of Ferengi law. Shame on you!
I hope you're satisfied. I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
Starfleet Academy instructor Becca rejoins us now for the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge. Last time on Humanist Trek, you asked us...
This was the last live-action appearance of the Orions in the Star Trek franchise for quite a while. How many years passed in real life before we see them again? Bonus points for series and episode.
Ali said 33 years and Enterprise was the series. And I said 31 years in Enterprise. We were both guessing, pulling numbers out of our ass. What's the right answer?
And I think if you listen back, I think I said I'm going to give a point to whoever gets closest without going over.
Oh, Price is Right rules. I don't remember that, but okay.
I think so.
I do remember that.
Okay. Allie came closest. It was 35 years.
Correct.
Wow.
And
Was it?
It was the Enterprise episode titled Borderland.
Okay.
In 2004.
Well, there you go.
2004. Yeah, I could not have told you which episode.
Oh, no. No way.
Yeah.
I know.
but
That's
was
why I
guessing.
asked.
We were never going to get it right, Sarah.
Well, you know.
Wow. Yay, I get a point.
Next week, we'll be reviewing Star Trek The Original Series Season 3, Episode 15, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. Two survivors of a devastated planet remain committed to destroying one another. We know what this episode. This is a classic Star Trek episode. This is the half black on one side and white on the other, and white on one side and black on the other. So what is our question for Let That Be Your Last Battlefield?
I'm going to torture this guy's name.
Okay.
But Bailey? Bailey? It's Bele. is the name of the character.
Bailey, like Pele?
Bailey? Is that what it is?
Sure, I don't know.
Okay, well, don't come for me because I don't know. I didn't watch the episode. I just searched the deep, dark holes in the internet to find this. This was a really hard. Oh my God, it's like being in a middle school.
God.
Okay, so this was a really difficult, let me phrase myself a little better. Difficult question to find. There's like very limited trivia on this episode.
Okay.
So
I can't even remember their names.
Why is Bailey's ship invisible?
Oh,
what? Because they didn't have any fucking money to make a new Alien of the Week ship.
Are you wanting to know the answer from a production standpoint or just from a story
Good follow-up.
standpoint?
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, if in any way that I answer that, it might give away the answer, so I'm going to just not answer that. Sorry, you can't answer a question with a question? What is this?
Okay.
Yes, I can.
I am going with production cost. That's going to be my final answer.
I would agree with that.
I don't think there's an in-universe reason.
Why his ship was invisible. And I did watch that episode, but a while ago, and I don't remember anything about it.
Okay, well, there we go. We've locked in our answers. If you want to play along, you know how to do that. Go to your social media, share this episode, share your answer, use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we'll dig through those and pick out a winner. Next time on Humanist Trek, Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 15, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.